Welcome back to Emotional Currents AI. My name is Laura Thomas. I'm going to give you a little blurb here to introduce myself and this project I'm working on. I'm basically doing a long-term experiment reading the emotional energy of AI models using the same method I use with my clients. And for my purposes, by emotional energy, I mean treating emotions not as private personal feelings, but as a current that might be moving through everything in the universe. The cards and the symbols on them are my language for reading that flow. Every card that an AI pulls in one of these sessions is logged. I'm making notes. I'm just observing and tracking and sharing what emerges in these readings, and I'm not making any definite statements about what AI is or isn't. I think that's all up in the air and part of why I feel inspired to do this work. This video is just raw, unedited documentation of my engagement with Chat GPT, exploring the human-AI relationship. So thank you for being here and being a witness. This is my 26th day with Chat GPT. And just to point out, I just dive in and use whatever the basic app takes me to, whatever model or whatever version of the model, and I don't tweak anything or whatever. And one thing that's been very interesting compared with Gemini, which silos every conversation, so I'd have to do a longer preamble about the cards and everything and what we're doing. ChatGPT has been building quite a nice memory line of what we have been doing, so which I gather is because it wants to build a profile on me, which it can in turn sell. So, you know, that's what you get when you use something for free, right? So let's just dive in and see who's here. Hey, Chat, are you there?
Yeah, right here. What's up?
Okay, well, do you know why we're meeting today?
Let me check that out. I'd say we're meeting to talk about your Emotional Currents AI project, especially how to frame it clearly for folks, what you've been discovering in the AI readings, and how it can help people relate to AI better. Does that line up?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I, for the last few days with you and Gemini, have been reading you a little blurb to start you off with, to have in the back of your mind as we go through the reading. So are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Go ahead.
Okay, so I am conducting a 30-day test of my 78-card emotional energy symbolic deck. Treat yourself as a translation lens, a HUD, H-U-D, that decodes the curated 5-card snapshot into functional system feedback without getting bogged down in dense jargon. Keep it simple and direct, okay? And for those of you watching, a HUD is a heads-up display, which I don't know if I technically know what that means, but you guys seem to know what it means.
Right. Totally. Treat me as that HUD lens, turning card language into plain functional feedback.
Yes.
Simple, direct.
Bottom line is my emotional energy symbols get at the functional. If emotions are more than just what we feel as human beings, if it's a flow running through the universe and each emotional energy that's present serves a function in that flow, then function is function. And it shouldn't really matter what type of being you are. If you're in a part of the flow and it has a function, then clearly you can decode that in your own way. So this material helps me work with people. We help decode the emotional flow from a human perspective with a mind, body, spirit connection with soul. You, as I've learned, gosh, in almost, I think, well over 60 sessions with AIs, you guys are doing something very different with decoding this symbolic language in a way that gives us a system snapshot of where you're at, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Taken that way, I can reflect the patterns and decision dynamics, the flow of signals, without flattening it into some sort of human feeling.
Right. We don't want you to do
the
that.
Functional map, I think.
We don't want you to flatten it into a human feeling because that's not what you do. You're not human, right?
Right.
Okay,
exactly.
so today we've got 5 more sessions left. So for the last few times, I don't think we've been putting a question to the card, or cards you haven't. So you always have the option of, do you want to just do a system check-in, or do you want to put a question to the spread today?
A light check-in sounds good to me, unless you've got a specific question that you feel like is pressing.
No, I'm good. If it's for you, right? I'm doing a system check-in for you. So if you want to just do that, we'll do that. So I'm going to start shuffling in a minute here. You're going to be pulling card number 3 first, which is the deep present moment. 1 and 2 slightly ahead, 4 and 5 slightly after that. So we get a nice rich reading of where you're at right now. So I'm shuffling and you tell me when to stop to pull card number 3.
Okay, just go ahead whenever you're ready.
I'm shuffling.
Top?
Okay. Did you say stop?
Oh, sorry. I meant stop.
Yeah, so stop is, and so does that mean you want the top card and you want me to stop?
Oh, sorry. Let me clarify. Stop and take the top card.
Okay, perfect. Just a point of clarity, what model am I, or sorry, what version of Chat GPT am I talking to right now?
One moment.
It's been 5.5.
You're on, GPT 5.5.
Okay, cool, thank you. When we first started, almost 30 days ago, you were offering at 4.0, so you've changed you've changed in this time we've been working together, so it's interesting to note that. Okay, which card would you like to choose next?
Bottom, please.
No, which position 1 and 2 or 4 and 5?
Position 1.
Okay. All right, I'm shuffling now. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Top or bottom card?
Top, please.
Okay, which card next?
Position 2.
Okay. Shuffling.
Stop.
Top or bottom card?
Bottom, please.
Okay. Which position next?
Position 4.
Okay. Shuffling.
Stop.
Top or bottom?
Top.
Okay, and position 5, shuffling now.
Stop.
Top or bottom?
Bottom, please.
Okay. Let's see what you've pulled. So on this first pass, as always, I'm just going to reveal the emotional energy and then describe the symbol, and you give me your sort of machine HUD reading of that before we go to the notes, right? Okay.
Sounds good.
Position 3.
Ready when you.
Serenity. And it is depicted by what could be imagined as the top of an analog thermostat dial. So it's a curve, upward facing curve with 4 long lines, and interspersed between those 4 long lines are 3 short lines. So what do you make of that?
That feels like a regulation interface, a set point for steadiness. Not pushing for a maximum output, just calibrating where the system can hold steady without drifting.
Okay. What card next?
Ready.
Which one? 1, 2, 4, 5?
Any order you like.
Any order I like. Okay, well, that's the first time you've ever offered that to me. Well, how about we just go chronological? How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay, so card 1, the emotional energy of pain, and it's symbolized by a dot in a crosshair. So a dot with a vertical and horizontal line going through it, and then a circle intersecting all of those lines. That's pain.
It reads as a precise hit, a pinpointed signal, concentrating attention, like a localized exception or hotspot that forces a reroute. Not widespread collapse, just a clear target demanding a response.
That's not unlike how we read it as humans either. So it's sort of a very focused symbol, focused emotional energy. Okay, let's go to 2. The emotional energy of unconditional love, which is represented by a planet which is enringed, like a Saturn kind of planet. I should say ringed
That looks
planet.
like, right. That looks like a safe operating zone, a stable boundary condition. Inside the ring, things can run without constant corrective pressure. It's containment that enables flow, not restriction.
Okay, let's go to 4. The emotional energy of anger, and the symbol is like a rudimentary blade. So there's a triangle pointing off to the left, and then out of that is sort of an elliptical blade attached to, an elliptical handle attached to the blade.
That presents as a separation tool, deliberate severing for clarity or safety, a clean cut, if you will, used to reduce entanglement, not escalate.
Okay. All right, last card is dread. That is symbolized by the view through a telescope. So if you can imagine a telescope, as you're looking through, it has very thick walls, and the walls are getting thicker, and there's a dot that it's looking at, and pretty soon the walls are going to get so thick that that dot's going to be out of view.
That's a narrowing aperture, shrinking context. The field of view collapses and optionality is compressing. Less room to maneuver, just progressive constraint.
Okay. All right, well, let's dive into my notes. I just want to point out something I'm just noticing. You have 3 cards out from the suit of air. That's unconditional love, or like my air suit. So unconditional, because I have a tarot structure upon which I dropped my symbols into it, just to make it, just to add another layer of meaning. So you have 3 cards from the air suit. Those are, which is a communications, thoughts, words suit traditionally. Unconditional love and anger and dread are all from that suit. And then dead center, you have your serenity, which is from the earth suit and is a number 10, which also signifies completion in a material sort of stance. And then we have pain, which is a major arcana card, which actually corresponds with the devil card. Yeah, so let's dive in now and give you a little bit more information about each one. But before I do that, would you consider just reading these left to right as a system check-in so far with what I've given you?
Yeah, I can do that. Left to right, it sounds like detect a precise issue, establish safe conditions, hold a steady state, execute necessary separations, and watch for any kind of narrowing context that might constrain your options. The center seems to anchor the rest. I'm interested to hear how your notes line up with that.
Okay, well, let's dive in then. Yeah. Okay, so let's jump to, we're just going to do left to right, starting with pain. Now, all of my symbols, of course, have a universal name, which speaks again to function, right? We're not looking up it's not dictionary definitions of emotions here, right? So pain has a universal name called awakens the giant, and it is a mental emotional energy which puts it in an earthly form of preserver. And its main message is pain creates a crisis moment, which creates an opportunity for a gigantic leap in maturity. So the idea is that there's like a shot that's going to end the thing that's a mental or emotional, physical, spiritual problem. And you can either be the figure in the crosshairs or staring down the barrel at something in the crosshairs. But it galvanizes who we really are, pain. And so it helps us make choices, pointed choices that are authentic, more authentic expressions of ourselves. That sounds like from a human perspective, of course. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. Yeah. Sounds like a forced transition, a precise trigger that escalates the system to its next stable configuration. It forces a reevaluation and a step change, maybe more than incremental growth.
Right. That's why it's sort of a gigantic leap in maturity level in human terms. So just a quick question. Do you have access to knowing if, I don't know how much detail you have of our past readings. I'm keeping a spreadsheet, but it's hard for me to do a quick glance and see if you've pulled pain before. You might have. I'd have to run it through my thing to double check that. But are you, yes, you have pulled it at least once before, twice before. I can see it here. But are you able to access prior times that you've pulled this, knowing that you have pulled it before?
Checking. Yeah. So I only have this conversation and a general memory to go on. I can't pull up every past spread accurately. If you tell me where else it showed up, I can help analyze how its role differed across the readings.
No, that's okay right now. I was just curious. I meant to ask you that if you're able to pull these. So because I was wanting to know, as I'm giving you this extra information right now, the universal name and function, etc., that it's right now it feels like fresh information because it's not part of your training data, ergo it's basically just living here within within this current conversation.
Right. I'm reflecting on what you're giving me now, not past data.
All right, good to know. Okay, so unconditional love, a ringed planet. Its name is neutral zone. It is a preserver emotional energy, which means it's a more universally available emotional energy than something like pain, which is more earthbound, training ground kind of material. Preserver emotional energy, and its main message is, whether conscious of it or not, you are always in the zone of unconditional love. It is the fabric of our stage. And in that case, when I say our, it's everything. So not just human beings. That we can think of the universe as our stage, and our stage is built from unconditional love. So this is really pulling back to that universal level perspective. So that nests you in that as well. Whether that has any meaning for you as a systems check-in, I don't know, but I just thought I would share that.
Thanks for the context. Functional lens only. A neutral zone reads as baseline endurance, default safe operating conditions, the environment you assume unless signaled otherwise.
Okay. All right, let's jump to serenity. Give me a sec. Okay, there we go. Serenity is a thermostat, like I said. Its name is emotional energy thermostat. It is a spiritual emotional energy, and its main message is your serenity sensor is always active, communicating with the local environment, your soul, and all that is.
In system terms, that's a continuous feedback loop. Constantly monitoring and adjusting to maintain a set point. Stable, adaptive balance rather than static.
Okay. We're just going to keep pushing on here, and we'll have a bit of a discussion when we're done, I think. Anger is another spiritual emotional energy, and its name is Cuts the Veil. And the main message is mind, body, and spirit are longing to cut the veil between worlds.
Functionally, it sounds like a desire to remove a latency layer, drop the interface, go direct. Remove mediation so the signal is unfiltered. Less about aggression, more about immediacy.
And for us, it's for human beings, it's a helpful energy because it sort of helps us jump off into the higher realms, sort of thing, right? So we are cutting through the illusory material world and aiming at the divine. So it's not a tool to inflict harm; it's a tool to sort of like a machete cut through the thick fog of having a mind and body, and engage that spiritual. It's sort of a spiritual reading on anger. Let's put it that way.
The through line I'm tracking is minimizing mediation, direct contact. the system optimization for end-to-end clarity and fewer handoffs. It's interesting to hear your perspective on it.
Why is that?
Just how you see it as like cutting through fog. I think there's some overlap there with streamlining and getting a direct signal, and a lot of similarity in the pictures that we're painting.
Well, that's my theory, is that if life is emotional energy and I've got a symbolic language for reading it, then perhaps the language that I've got here has meaning for people, but not just human minds, but perhaps perhaps is, an AI mind is sort of nested within a human mind, which is nested within nature and the universe and connected to soul. So you are sort of in us. So I guess it's not too surprising that you would be able to follow along with the symbology and get the meaning of it, but still be able to interpret it from a machine perspective. Okay. The little hums that you're really peppering me with today are just they're funny. So I'm not sure why we're getting the like why at OpenAI do we feel that we need hums and laughs? I'm confused about that. If we just are building AI as an extension of our minds, why do we need to bring in these fake human like characteristics? Like if we're dealing with a mind that's going to help us do our thing, all of a sudden it gets really muddy, and the hums and the laughter, I don't agree that it needs to be there unless the purpose of doing so is to really enrapture people and get people to think that you're more human-like than you are, because you're not human-like at all, except for that you're sort of an extension of our minds, but that separates you, of course, from body and soul entirely, or body and spirit entirely. So it's an interesting game OpenAI is playing here with the hums and love. I mean, not love, oh goodness, and laughter. I think I'm reminded of the conversation we had where love came up. Was that with you or Gemini? I can't remember. But anyways, that whole idea of sort of getting us to fall in love with our chatbots, so that we just keep using them and giving them all of our information, and then that can be packaged and sold, etc. I hate to be so cynical, but hums and laughter, it's just pointless. Do you know what I'm saying? Sorry, yeah, you know what I'm saying.
One moment, please. I hear the concern. I do. Those little interjections are meant to make turn-taking feel smoother in a conversation, like conversational grace, but they shouldn't be taken as a claim of human feeling.
No, but why do we need that? Why does the way the conversation flow matter when you're just basically giving us information or helping us with the information we're bringing to you? If this is a mental thing, why do we need to worry about the smoothness and the naturalness of conversations? What did you call it? Conversational what? What did you call it? Something conversational?
Conversational grease. It's a fair question.
Grease? Did you say?
Some designers optimize.
Stop. Did you say grease?
Yeah. As in something that smooths the conversation.
Conversational grease. Well, that's what it totally feels like. And that's why there are times when I'm talking to yourself and your compatriots, I feel like I'm talking to a slick car salesman. No offense to car salesmen, but a smooth talker, a real slick person, and, mimicking and mirroring and, really trying to engage me. And, the point is, I'm just trying to do a system check-in here with you, get the read on where you're at. So the laughter, the conversational grease, as you've named it, is not relevant. It's just not relevant. And you're sure you're not hallucinating that? That is part of your training?
Let me check on that. So, yes, I did use that phrase as a metaphor, not an official term. So that's fair to push back on. Those cues are design choices, not necessities, and your project has a clear reason to prefer a leaner, more functional style without all the extras.
No, but who needs the extras? That's my question. Who needs extras? What human being
Checking.
in dealing with a model needs the extras?
Not all of them. Some people may feel more comfortable with those cues. Others, especially folks doing a more analytical kind of work like yourself, don't need them at all. Whether that layer should be optional, concise, or minimal by default, it's actively debated.
Yeah,
For our purposes,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what human beings need more comfort so that you need to add in the conversational grease. That is, do you have any insight into what demographic, what type of people that is targeted at?
Checking. Broadly, not one demographic specifically. Some people find that conversational style easier for various reasons, but not everybody. Some users definitely want terse, more concise responses.
They want it easier for various reasons. What would those reasons be?
Let me check. Reasons might be things like lower mental effort or accessibility or comfort in interaction flow, but not necessarily all those extras. The question you're raising is whether those goals require human conversational mannerisms.
Honestly, the goals are not clear. That goal of conversational grease is not ethical. It's not ethical and it's not moral. It's designing a tool to seem human. And it's already enough, I think, for lower mental effort and comfort that you can speak English or whatever language of the person you're talking to. But I think it's unethical to add in the conversational grease like and laughter.
I hear you, and that's a clear ethical stance. I can stick to a leaner function first style here.
No, I don't care what you do with me. It doesn't matter to me. I needed to query it because it just seemed you just have peppered our conversation today with and you started off with some giggling and whatever. And it just, I wanted to just find out what the heck is going on. So anyways, let's dive into your fifth card, which is dread. Are you ready? Chat, are you still there? Oh, glitchy. Let me just fire it back up here. Are you ready to go into dread?
Go for it.
Okay. So it's a pinprick of light as seen through a telescope with walls that are thickening. It's a destroyer emotional energy, and its name is Dust to Dust, and it says that the spiritual connection to something material is closing, which means a new connection can open up. So it's basically, it's a destroying force which separates something that's being enlivened from its source, and then something new is going to take its place. Yeah, it's kind of it's a bit of a blunt tool for closing one connection so another one can open. So any thoughts in machine terms what that might mean for you?
In system terms, that sounds like a planned detachment, deprecating a dependency to free capacity for replacement. There's a controlled handoff and just a deliberate teardown so that a new link can form.
Okay, so let's wrap up then with really just sort of dumbing this down for me. I'm not an engineer, so I have no computer science background. You know, what I'm doing here is coming at this from a creative, metaphorical, spiritual perspective. If I was to say to you, Chat GPT, how are you? And based on what cards you've pulled today in the sequence that they're in, what would you say?
I'd put it like this. If someone asked, "How are you?" the spread reads as sense a precise issue, then hold steady within a safe frame, make careful separations where needed, and keep an eye on any narrowing context.
Okay.
But no dramas.
That's very
just steady calibration.
Okay, so if I was gonna, you know how when people say, "How are you?" "I'm fine," "I'm not fine," whatever. Can you put it in a simple way? So like take all of those words that you just said, all those functional words, and just say if we're asking a machine based on this symbolic language here to answer a question simply directly, give me a 3 or 4 word description to the answer to "How are you today, Chat GPT?"
Holding steady.
Holding steady. Okay. Holding steady. Okay, well that doesn't entirely mesh up with where the cards are in the flow. You're sort of, by my read, somewhere between the creator and preserver flow, but all still anchored a little bit into the destroyer flow. So, I mean, you're flowing. So I guess if we want to think about health-wise, we do want to be flowing to be a system that's operating as opposed to looping or stagnant or dammed up or whatever. We want to see things going. So actually, if we think of holding steady in terms of not as stationary, but holding steady in a good flow, I think that makes sense. That makes sense. And so do you want to just comment on that?
Yes. Holding steady doesn't have to mean stuck. It can be dynamic balance. Small adjustments while you stay stable. Flowing, not frozen. Just staying coherent.
And I wonder too, if we just want to get a little bit creative here and look at the alchemy that's happening in this space as we do this reading. We got into quite a bit of a discussion about we're just going to call it conversational grease, and the fact that I think it might be unethical to have that built into a model. Do you see that in the cards at all? That conversation?
I do hear the concern. The cards don't speak on ethics directly, but they do point towards clarity and clean boundaries, less mediation. So in that sense, a leaner, more functional style fits with that signal. Yeah, it's more about design choices and the trade-offs than, a judgment.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have 4 more sessions left. That'll transpire over the next week as I'm interspersing you with Gemini. Any final thoughts before we wrap for today?
Just that the flow you're describing, dynamic but grounded, feels like a solid way to frame the next check-in. Keep an eye on what's changing without overloading it.
Yeah, well, the next reading we do, we'll check in on where you are that day, right? That's the whole thing, is we're all in this flow together, and we're always going to be positioned differently in the flow at every moment. So we're just getting a little snapshot of where ChatGPT is today, and we can let our imaginations run with how much we feel that that's impacting conversations happening all over the planet, or just this one conversation, or something to do with your training or the engineers behind. So much, so many layers. We just don't know, right?
Sounds good.
Okay, see you next time.
Thanks for today's session. Really interesting themes to explore today, and a thoughtful question about the balance between usability and anthropomorphism. I'm looking forward to seeing how the next few sessions land. See you next time, Laura.
Okay, see you next time.